good set. So it's like 10 right now. Favorite time to come to the gym because nobody is here. Absolutely love it, man. I wake up, get some work done, come to the gym, finish my workout, get lunch, and then continue on with my day. I used to have a very fixed schedule. I used to think that I had to be at the office 9 to 6, and I think that's terrible, at least in terms of scheduling, because you don't get to enjoy things like this. And I think this is one of my greatest joys for some reason. The fact that you can come to an empty gym, you don't have to wait for your equipment, you don't have to wait for the other guy to finish his set, and the ability to have a almost full gym at your disposal anytime you want, that's kind of priceless. This happened because I changed the way my business was. I wanted my business to support the lifestyle that I wanted. And that means putting things in place, having a company culture, having policies in the business to make sure that the work in the business is structured in a way that can support the lifestyle that you want. So somebody asked me yesterday what success meant to me, and I think everybody's definition of success is different. For me, it's largely based on freedom, and there are 4 kinds of freedom. At least to me, it's important. And everybody talks about only the first one, which is financial freedom, having the finances to do whatever you want. Yes, I think that's important, but more so than that are the other 3 kinds, because I know of a lot of people that are rich or wealthy, but they don't have the other 3 freedoms, right? They don't have time freedom. They cannot do whatever they want, whenever they want. And I think that's terrible, because if you have the finances but no ability to make use of that, that's not real freedom. And then there's location freedom as well, being able to go wherever you want, whenever you want. And I think that's also another form of freedom that's crucial. In the past, when I was running my business, I think one of the problems was I didn't and couldn't go to places that I wanted to go, and that was why when I exited my business, one of the things that I wanted to do was just to travel full time. And the last is mind space freedom. You can have all these first 3 freedoms, but the mind space freedom, the ability to have no responsibilities, or the ability to have your mind completely clear so that you can actually be present in whatever you're doing. It could be like working out, it could be like, traveling the world, it could be like, checking out a museum, whatever it is. If your mind is full of the things that you have to do, things that you have to handle, the deadlines, are you really free? So now that I know these 4 types of freedom are important to me, I want to design a business for myself that allows me these 4 types of freedom. I'm not going to do stuff that gets me into a job or like a place that I have to spend all my time in. I cannot control my schedule, I'm unable to leave the country, or any of these things, right? That for me is not what I want. It might pay me well, it might have great returns financially, but I'm looking at my life and there's like only about 16,800 days left to the day I die, and I want to make sure that every one of those days are days that I feel are aligned with my purpose, with my vision, and kind of gets me to where I want to go. And I think that's crucial. So I've got to design a business like that for my lifestyle. And you have to know what you want as well. If it's freedom that you want, then you can't start a business that takes away freedom. You can't get into a job that doesn't provide you freedom. You can't do things that basically saddle you with more and more tasks and things to do that basically strip you of that freedom. I can create a business right now that supports my lifestyle because I spent a large part of my early years building that kind of resources, skill sets, capabilities that I can leverage on right now So in my 20s, I was hustling, I was grinding, I was having sleepless nights, I was spending huge amounts of my time on my business, just building up, who is Alvin Poh, the management capabilities, the skill sets in terms of business. I was even a programmer, I was handling website design, I was doing all kinds of stuff like that. But those are high income skills because you basically monetize those skills and you can make money off them. And that's what I did in my 20s. At this point in time in my life, the business that I have, I want to make sure that it gives me the 4 types of freedom, so that I actually have financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, and mind space freedom. It's really hard to do that if you don't have those skill sets, the knowledge in your 20s. Alright, time for some calories. Oh man, I love it. Is this your favorite food? Yeah, I absolutely love it. Chinese mala xiangguo. Yeah, like your choice of whatever. And I usually put in a shit ton of protein. Like all this is meat. There's carbs as well. I love the fact they have innards. Gizzard, oh man, I love it. Best thing ever. I was just reading a Harvard Business Review, I think, on CEOs and what happens after they retire. So it seems like the typical CEO retires about 60 plus, and none of them retire to the golf course. They always want to find something to do, something fulfilling, something that is in line with their vision. A lot of them go into investments. They go to VC funds. They do philanthropy. They become a mentor, and I think that's what's necessary for fulfillment, right? It's no longer just surviving or building up your nest egg. It's really how do you use your knowledge, your skills, your experience to benefit others, whether it comes in the form of investing or mentoring or just giving back in terms of finances. I think that's important for people to understand. And you don't have to wait until you finish your career. You can do it now. Forgot that guy's name, but he wrote a book, Die with Zero. And I think it's a great concept to have, because a lot of times we try to look at building up a nest egg, retiring, and then at the end of your life you die, but you still have a lot of money left, right? Usually for inheritance and all that. But inheritance doesn't necessarily work as well. If you provide people with too much, then they're not going to be able to be self-sufficient or driven or hungry, and you might get the opposite result. Rather than to provide for people, you make them too comfortable, and then they don't have that kind of drive to improve themselves anymore. So it talks about dying with zero, where you optimize your life so that if you want to spend money or whatever, you do that as well. Or if you want to give back, you do that while you're alive rather than when you are dead. And then you maximize the results that you get. Dying with zero. So I think that's a great concept to have, because what typically happens is people just die, and then they start everything else, giving back, philanthropy, yada yada yada. Yeah. Or their inheritance. The other school of thought is to optimize your expenditure so that while you're still alive, you maximize it, right? I think it's really crucial to know what drives you and what keeps you fulfilled. Everybody is different. And I think it's important because you've got to put in the time, the effort, the resources, and that typically happens when you're young, right? You're not going to be 20 and be able to do all of this without anything at all. So you need to build up skill sets, you need to build up experience, you need to build up tools and knowledge. And that comes when you're just starting out, whether you're a teenager, whether you're 20s, but that's where you actually need to invest the time, the effort to build who you are up. But then after that, you can figure out what actually makes you happy and fulfilled. For me, I discovered there was freedom to do the things that I want, and the things that I want to do have got to do with spending time with friends, no matter where they are, whether they're in the USA or in Europe or in Japan, I want to give back to the areas that are important to me as well. That's in the areas of entrepreneurship and education. I mean, those were the areas that allowed me to be who I am, right? Entrepreneurship changed my life. Education allowed me to build the skills and the knowledge that I have. And I think that's crucial to continue to give back. I also want to do the things that are fun to me. I love snowboarding, and you have to travel in order to snowboard. I want to go for raves as well. I love electronic music, right? And you got to find time for that also. So I want to make sure my life is able to support all those things that I want to do. So it's 5 minutes before I leave for the airport, and I'm gonna pack my bag now. This is my carry-on bag. I'm gonna use it for my 7-day trip to Australia with my family. I don't want to check in, it's too much of a hassle and I hate waiting for luggage. These are all my clothes. I don't carry 7 days worth, I carry enough and I hand wash whatever I need so it's dry the next day and I don't need to carry so much along with me. Toiletries, I got my sunglasses, passport of course. This is a traveling case with all my electronics in it, adapters, my cables, everything I need. Power all my equipment. A little bag just so that I can use that every day when I am traveling. This is my camera case. All my camera equipment is in this. Earphones, a travel pillow, and of course a jacket just in case it gets cold. So this is my luggage for 7 days in Australia and I'm looking forward to the trip. Such a gorgeous place. This is Green Door Winery. You can see sheep in the distance with the vineyard stuff, all the vines happening here. Absolutely gorgeous. It's also 11:15, but hey, it's never too early for wine. So this is canals on the rocks, stone and rock formed millions of years ago. It's actually gneiss right now, G-N-E-I-S-S, and over time the action of the waves has caused erosion in these rocks, forming canals, parallel line canals cutting through the rocks. And it's pretty cool to see what time and just waves can do to rocks. It's gorgeous. Took us like 20 minutes to get here, but absolutely beautiful. I've spotted some kangaroos. Really big. Different from the ones from the wildlife park. This is such a beautiful place. We just moved here. It's a Airbnb. Don't know exactly where, but we are south of Perth and we are halfway to Margaret River. We're just gonna spend about a night here and it's gorgeous. Look at this. Nice little backyard. Absolutely gorgeous place. Can't help but notice and feel this sense of awe and peace. It's so serene, so tranquil. It's not even like street lamps or anything, so at night this place becomes pitch black. Absolutely gorgeous. When I was younger, I felt like I was invincible. You know, like I was top of the world, everyone else was an idiot. Even though I was just a broke university, polytechnic student. I don't know why. It's just maybe the ignorance of youth. These days, I'm older. I think they say with age comes wisdom, and that has clearly happened with me. And as you get older, I guess you get more and more aware and cognizant of your mortality. It's not a very long life, to be fair. The other day I was at Telok Ayer and I was walking along the street, and I was heading towards my dinner appointment, and so I was passing by all these bars, and there was this one bar where these two young chaps were just talking over a couple of beers, and I just heard a snippet of their conversation as I was walking past. And this guy was telling him about how people were like being old, and they were not really the kind of audience that they wanted. And the funny thing is, he ended his sentence saying that what he felt was old were people in their 30s. At that point in time, I must have been like 38, I think, and I was like, what? I remember when I was much younger and I used to think people who were in my 30s and 40s were like super old adults. And I was like, I guess things have really come full circle. So yeah, mortality is there. And so these days I'm a lot more aware that it's only one life that we have. And I'm not saying to YOLO. I think the whole concept of YOLO is not really what the whole point of what I'm saying is. I'm saying that we should really treasure life as we have it. Because if not, we're just going to be chasing after things that don't make us happy, and when we are on our deathbed, it's going to be something that we are going to very deeply regret. So there are a few things that I think need to be thought about. We probably only have about 80 years in our lifetime on average. Some of us shorter, some of us longer. But I think 80 is a good average. And when you think about it in that terms, 80 is not long at all. 80 Christmases, 80 birthdays, 80 of any of your favorite events. If you have seasons where you live, Australia has seasons, and I think it's going to be beautiful. It's 80 summers, 80 springs that you have to go through, that you can get to go through. Singapore doesn't have seasons, so you just get rain or shine all day long, every day of the year. So you don't really feel that seasonal change, but you do get your festivals and your festivities and your events and whatnot every single year. So 80 years of Chinese New Year or Christmas or anything that you celebrate is a really short amount of time. And so that really puts things into perspective. It makes me go like, if I am doing something, it has to really fit and really align with what I want to do. And it begs the question, do you know what you want to do? Do you know what makes you happy? If push comes to shove, if you had the choice, I interview applicants every year for this scholarship fund that I've created. So every year there'll be a scholar that gets their tuition completely paid for, and so every year there'll be applications, and I review the applications and have interviews with the shortlisted candidates, and I ask them a bunch of questions. There are the essays and stuff that they write, which I read, but I'd like to find out more about them, and so I ask them this question: if you had all the money in the world, that you don't have to worry about money anymore, but you had time, some time, not a lot of time, some time, what are you going to do? What would you do? I think when faced with a very short amount of time, like you know there's a deadline that's a lot shorter than say 80 years, you start becoming really, really cognizant of what you want to do and what makes you happy. So the fact that we have 80 years, I think, tends to put people in a false sense of comfort and safety, because 80 is a really big number, and sometimes the human brain has trouble comprehending big numbers. But when we break it down, or when we create a very tangible deadline that we can feel, that we can almost touch, that is going to make the change, and that is going to make us realize, oh, am I doing something with my life? So yeah, I think it's so important as a result to really make sure that you're designing the life that you want. You're making sure that you're doing the things that make you happy. So that's what's been driving me. If I had all the money in the world, like if I had a fixed amount of time, I wouldn't be buying Lamborghinis or any material possessions or chasing any of that. I would like experiences. I would like to spend time with the people that I love. I would like to help others and to really create a kind of, I know it's cliche, but impact. Impact with me means positive change in two main areas: entrepreneurship as well as education, because these are the areas that have impacted me in my life and changed my life. So I want to see how I can give back. I want to see how I can give others the kind of opportunities that I have, and not give on a silver platter, but to identify people that are really deserving, that are really clear about what they're doing, and help them along that path. Because if I can do that, help one more people, help a bunch more people, that really changes things for them. And I think it's a cascading effect, because it affects things like their family, it affects the teams that they lead, it affects the customers that they serve, and the impact that's created is much bigger than just that one person. So yeah, that's what's important to me.